Hello to everyone in TV land. This is Focus on Liberia Online Television, and you're listening to the Focus on Liberia Daily News with Gwendolyn Dorado. First, the headlines. Former Finance Minister Samuel Toy accuses the Unity Party-led government of seeking to tarnish his image, stating that the goal is not justice but to publicly humiliate him by placing him in handcuffs. The United Methodist Church in Liberia accuses Bishop Samuel Jerome Choir of taking a huge sum of money from the global church during the 2024 General Conference that was held in Charlotte, North Carolina, USA, to perpetuate regionalization and accept same-sex marriage within the United Methodist Church in Liberia. The Ministry of Labor announces the immediate suspension of work permits for foreign heavy-duty drivers. Away from Liberia, a zookeeper has been mauled to death by a lion in southwestern Nigeria after he failed to secure the locks on its enclosure when he went to feed it, police said. Those were the headlines. Now the news in details. The United Methodist Church in Liberia has accused Bishop Samuel Jerome Choir of taking a huge sum of money from the global church during the 2024 General Conference that was held in Charlotte, North Carolina, USA, to perpetuate regionalization and accept same-sex marriage within the United Methodist Church in Liberia. Boyce said the allegation stemmed from Bishop Choir's refusal to hold a special session to respond to the General Conference decision on same-sex marriage. Since the acceptance of the same-sex marriage by the General Conference in the United States, the Bishop of the Liberia Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church has come under criticism from the church members over his refusal to call for a special session and allowed members of the church determine the way forward for the church in Liberia. The delegates from the United Methodist Church General Conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, from April 23rd to May 3rd, voted 692 to 51 to repeal the church's long-standing ban on LGBTQ clergy, marking a significant shift in the church policy. Bishop Choir was contacted by Front Page Africa via calls and text messages, but could not be reached to respond to allegations from the UMC Liberia Annual Conference up to present. However, back in May 2024, soon after the conference in the US, Bishop Choir reaffirmed the church in Liberia remains committed to traditional Christian teachings on same-sex marriage. 1 year, 7 months after she was murdered, the remains of Shalom Musu, niece of former Chief Justice Gloria Scott, was on Saturday, September 28, buried, following a funeral service attended by hundreds of family members, relatives, friends, colleagues, and loved ones. Paying her tribute at the Christ Embassy Church in Burrillville, former Chief Justice Gloria Musu Scott asked God to expose and punish the killers of her niece, Shalom Musu. Justice Scott tearfully bade farewell to her brilliant and industrious niece and prayed that God takes care of the perpetrators and those profited from the innocent blood of her niece. She called for a national reawakening that will put an end to the culture of impunity, conspiracy, and deliberate politically inspired neglect of duties and responsibilities by state actors. The Liberia Refugee Repatriation and Reintegration Commission boss, Patrick Woolsey, has called for a robust, sustainable, and a solemn system in Liberia, noting that a decentralized system would allow the participation of all line ministries, agencies, and civil society organizations. In addition, Mr. Woolsey stressed the need for members to be trained in the usage of the M&E system to enhance the regime of asylum in the country. Mr. Woolsey made the call recently when he attended a 3-day conference on asylum capacity development organized by the West and Central African Regional Bureau of the United Nations High Commissioner on Refugees in Dakar, Senegal, September 23rd to the 26th. Meanwhile, the LRRC Executive Director wants the establishment of legal representation for refugees in the process of adjudication of cases in Liberia. According to him, Liberia plays a pivotal role in the emancipation of Africans, including the admission of over 500,000 Sierra Leone and Ivorian refugees between 1991 to 2020. The conference brought together member states comprising 24 West and Central African regions and Geneva, of which Liberia is a member. The LRRC boss, Patrick Woolsey, who was accompanied by the Commissioner's Director for Protection, Mr. Darrell Chlople, represented Liberia at the conference. Liberia, a signatory to instruments involving refugees, the 1951 Geneva Convention and its 1967 Protocol, the 1969 OAU-AU Convention governing specific aspects of refugee problems in Africa, has a record of 1,789 asylum seekers in Liberia. The Deputy Director for Administration at the Monrovia City Police, Colonel Divine Sharma, has disclosed that the NCP has embarked on the process of rebranding, restructuring, and reforming of the entity and its staff. Colonel Sharma stated that the reform process will consider the professionalism of officers to ensure effective enforcement of the city ordinances as mandated by the Monrovia City Council. He made the disclosure over the weekend as the entity engaged in community policing in Monrovia and pointed out that the rebranding of the city police is to ensure that officers adhere to the city ordinances and not engage in confiscating marketers' goods without applying the law. He emphasized that if marketers violate the city ordinances, they should be fined rather than their goods being confiscated. Colonel Sharma noted that the goods of several marketers have been confiscated in the past and are in the custody of the entity, but said that that investigation will be conducted to ensure that the owners are found and the goods returned to them. He asserted that the abuse of public peace has been alarming, such as playing loud music and constructing makeshift structures in the city, but will be tackled through the enforcement process to maintain decency in the city of Monrovia. The deputy MCP boss revealed that the entity is faced with some challenges, but with the necessary equipment, such as vehicles, will ensure enforcement across the city. He maintained that the entity will work with partners and members of the international community to assist the Monrovia City Police with equipment for the effective operation of the entity. Colonel Sharma emphasized that the Monrovia City Police will work along with the Monrovia City Council to ensure that the enforcement of the city ordinances are implemented according to the law. The Ministry of Labor has announced the immediate suspension of work permits for foreign heavy-duty drivers. The ministry says it will no longer renew work permits for foreign drivers on a standard basis, warning instead that renewals will occur annually starting next year. This decision aims to prioritize local employment and reduce ongoing bad labor practices in the mining sector across West African countries. Addressing a group of journalists over the weekend, Labor Minister Cooper Krua stated that evidence shows Liberian mining workers are significantly underpaid compared to their foreign counterparts. Citing an instance, Krua noted, Krua noted that Zambian drivers in Liberia earn one that's US $1,650 and Turkish drivers earn US $2,500, while Liberian drivers earn less than 600 for the same job. To address the disparities, the Labor Ministry has communicated with mining companies urging them to train more Liberian drivers to operate heavy duty machines, while these companies have to have a 2 week grace period to comply. Minister Krua revealed that they are given 3 months to implement these mandates. Additionally, he pledged to closely monitor these companies to mitigate the selective justice and bad labor practices across the sector to ensure Liberian drivers receive the priority they deserve. Former Finance Minister Samuel Toe has accused the Unity Party-led government of seeking to tarnish his image, stating that the goal is not justice but to publicly humiliate him by placing him in handcuffs. Speaking at the Coalition for Democratic Change headquarters on Saturday, September 28, Toe described the corruption charges against him as part of a politically motivated witch hunt. The former finance minister faces charges from the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, including economic sabotage, fraud, and criminal conspiracy related to him signing off a disbursement of 1 billion and US 500,000 to the Financial Intelligence Agency after turning himself in at Criminal Code C on September 25th. 12 was granted an 8 million bail with his trial scheduled for November 12th. He maintains that the charges are baseless and part of an effort to discredit both him and the former administration. The former finance minister also expressed frustration over the political climate in Liberia, which he believes is becoming increasingly hostile toward former officials. And away from Liberia, a zookeeper has been mauled to death by a lion in southwestern Nigeria after he failed to secure the locks on its enclosure when he went to feed it, police said. The victim, a 35-year-old man, worked at the Presidential Library Wildlife Park, owned by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo in Abeokuta, capital of Ogun State. Local police spokesman Omotola Odutola said in a statement that the lion afflicted serious fatal injuries to the man's neck. He said the lion was then shot to release its grip on the handler. According to a statement from the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library, the zookeeper had taken some guests to see the lion's feeding routine after hours on Saturday evening. The victim has been named as Babaji Daulu, described by police as a trained lion handler. It comes less than a year after another zookeeper was attacked and killed by a lion at the Abafami Awolowo University, also in southwestern Nigeria. The incident has triggered concerns with people raising questions about the country's regulations and management of zoos and handling of wild animals. That does it for the Focus on Liberia Daily News. I do a recap of the headlines. Former Finance Minister Samuel Toy accuses the Unity Party-led government of seeking to tarnish his image, stating that the goal is not justice but to publicly humiliate him by placing him in handcuffs. The United Methodist Church in Liberia accuses Bishop Samuel Jerome Choir of taking a huge sum of money from the global church during the 2024 General Conference that was held in Charlotte, North Carolina, USA, to perpetuate regionalization and accept same-sex marriage within the United Methodist Church in Liberia. The Ministry of Labor announces the immediate suspension of work permits for foreign heavy-duty drivers. And away from Liberia, a zookeeper has been mauled to death by a lion in southwestern Nigeria after he failed to secure the locks on its enclosure when he went to feed it, police said. On behalf of the management and staff of Focus on Liberia, many thanks to our listeners and viewers. We urge that you keep following us and share our videos. My name is Gwendolyn Dorado. I present it.